My name is Cassy Summers. Welcome to the Curious Universe podcast. Are you living in conflict? Do you create conflictual universes all over the place and not even know it? This is what we're exploring today. We're going to go into the interesting realm of conflict just for a little bit and see what can we discover about ourselves and how some of the interactions with the world keep showing up in certain ways. So just get a sense of what conflict is for you. Do you avoid conflict? Do you love conflict? Do you crave conflict? Do you go after it? Where are these conflictual things showing up in your life? Maybe you and your partner have a lot of conflict, or you and your kids have a lot of conflict. Your boss, you could be in conflict with your body, thinking that you want different things. So we have these conflictual things in our worlds, right? And what does conflict really do for you? I'm pausing for you to actually look at that. Like, what does conflict do for you? Some people think that conflict creates a change. Conflict can push someone in a certain direction, right? Conflict can intimidate. Conflict can do all these different things. So what have you decided conflict does for you? Wow. These are one of the times, my friends, that I'm going to have to use that magical tool called the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. If you want more information on that, please go to www.theclearingstatement.com. There's a video from the co-founder of Access and a massive co-creator, Smo Milicis, and Dr. Dean here. And you'll learn more about this clearing statement, but just for the sake of today, it's just a magic set of words that clears out energies, and we can use it all the time. You can use it as many times as you want. It's not like a limited edition, a limited amount of clearings. So now we are here with conflict, and we are here looking at, hopefully you're looking at your own universe right now with me. And you're looking at, where do you have conflict in your life? And when you acknowledge what conflict does for you, then you start to have an awareness of, one, is it actually your best choice? Like, is it actually creating the greatest? Is there a lie that you bought about what conflict was going to give to you? Or is there a lie that you bought of what conflict was going to do to you? Because avoiding conflict is just as bad as creating conflict. It just kind of sticks you in a different way. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you might sense like some heaviness coming up, some energy here. You might feel like, oh my God, I want to hide. Maybe I need to turn this off. Maybe you've completely checked out from the podcast. We're going to use the clearing statement again to open up a little bit more space. So everything that this brings up and lets down, will you destroy it and create it? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, only, chores, boys, povets, and beyonds. Okay, so our world is actually based a lot on conflict. If you have noticed, there's conflict in war, there's conflict in points of view, there's conflict in information. There's all these conflictual realities going on at the same time. And to some degree, it's hard to even know what to believe or what to follow. Maybe don't follow anything. Actually, Get clear on your own awareness and follow that. But I'm going to give you some tricks and some tips and some, as we go along here, to look at actually dissolving the conflict in your life so that you can have this more creative life that I think you would like to have. If you're here with me and listening to this podcast, then my sense is you're looking for something greater. You're looking for something beyond conflict. One of the first things is I always start with, what do I think I'm going to get out of something? If I've been doing something continuously, if I continuously create conflict with a certain person or a certain area in my life, it could be conflict with money. Do you always create a conflict going on? Or do you always have a conflict with money? You love it and you hate it. You love it and you hate it. You have like these two different universes, right? A love of what you can buy with money or the security that money has, and the hate of the corruption of money and how disgusting it is and how this world is just run off of money. We could have these conflictual universes where it's true here and it's true here, but they actually conflict. They're in conflict with each other. So where does that leave you? Where does that leave you in your life when you are functioning from conflictual points of view, conflictual realities? Well, it's definitely not allowing you to go faster and further and have more ease and joy and glory in your life. So what if we deconstruct a little bit more? So what are you going to get out of it? So I always look at what's the reward and then what's the punishment, okay? So what's the reward for conflict, or what's the reward for avoiding conflict? You can write this stuff down. Sometimes writing it down creates a clarity in your world. And for other people, I know we all have different brains, different ways of functioning. Writing it down isn't going to work for you. So you can just be here with me. You can send yourself an audio if you want. Draw yourself a picture if it's more like that. So what's the reward? Now what's the punishment? I grew up in a kind of a violent home. My father was really violent, and I saw violence as conflict, or if I created conflict, the punishment was violence. So I was always trying to avoid conflict and avoid my family coming into conflict. So I'd be like aware of like these colliding things, and I'd be like, woo, trying to like be a few steps ahead so I could keep everyone. If we could all just avoid conflict, then the lie was the reward was peace, right? But it can never actually truly have peace in a house of violence. not true peace, So once you clear out, is the reward actually true? So the reward of peace was not actually true. The punishment of violence, was that actually true? Or was that the violence coming anyways? The violence was coming anyways. Okay. And so then when you start to dissolve these lies and you dissolve the judgments so you need to dissolve the judgments on both sides of the conflict to dissolve the conflict itself. Okay. Yeah. Woo. Right. Wrong, good, bad, talk about all night, shorts, boys, po, beds, mans. This is a fun episode. There's a lot coming up, and my sense is that we can go a little bit further into the energetics clearings that I love so much. So thank you so much for listening and being here. Okay, so as we're dissolving the conflict, you have the reward, you have the punishment, you're acknowledging all the lies, and then now you can go further in, and as you can use the clearing statement, everything that you bought about everything you bought about conflict, and you can destroy it and create it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all nine shorts, boys, po, beds, and beyonds. The best way to really dynamically change something in your life is to get clear on what is true for you. So it's not about believing me and listening to what I'm saying, but when I'm asking these questions, you're accessing your consciousness, you're accessing what you know about it and clearing from there. So what is conflict for you? What's the value in it for you? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And we're clearing both sides of it so that it can dissolve. So your hate of conflict, your avoidance of conflict, your unwillingness to have conflict also keeps you the victim of conflict and the slave of conflict. You have to be willing for someone to create conflict with you to be totally free. Because if you're not willing, then anyone that would create a conflict about something, they have all the power, because you're in retreat mode and they're in, I see how I can have power over them. I can just create some conflict here, or even threaten the energy of conflict, and they will cave and I will get everything that I want. That does not allow you the freedom of living with choice of possibility, right? So it's willing to have conflict. Willing to have conflict and choosing conflict are very different things. I need to moisturize my hands. I apologize, but this stuff smells really good. So if you have a willingness to have conflict and the awareness to choose not to have conflict when it works, then you have this huge universe of possibilities showing up. Do you sense that? So get a sense of somewhere where you have conflict. Ex-husband is always a great, or ex-wife, ex anything. Could be a great example, right? Often there can be conflict there. That's you have all this history, you have all this past reference points, and you're functioning from that. So you have this, so you have this conflict, and maybe the conflict started as a way to try and wake someone up. Maybe when you were together with that partner, maybe you were the doormat for so long and you just got sick of it. And you were like, you know what? I'm tired of being the doormat. And so what you thought, instead of like the opposite of being a doormat, is like you become the attacker, or you go into this mode. It starts to creating conflict. You might get into this habit of conflict. You might have decided that, oh, this is what power feels like. Now I'm empowered. I'm going to just roar, like breathe my dragon fire on everyone and create conflict everywhere I go. And it gives you this sense of feeling like powerful. Okay, cool. So is that actually power? If you haven't yet watched the episode I did on I Am Power, please watch it, because that will open up your consciousness to the energies of true empowerment and being an empowered person. Yes, it might give you temporary power over someone, absolutely. And is that like the greatness of the life that you're looking to create for yourself? Is it to use conflict to have power over people? Or is it to allow conflict to melt out of your world, so then you have the freedom of truly choosing everything that will create for you? Because when you're in conflict, notice how much choice you have. It's much more limited. And when you're in conflict with someone or something, oh my goodness, just will you take a minute and just perceive how much energy you have to continuously put into that, keeping that conflict alive. Okay. So think any conflict you have with anyone or anything. Okay. How much energy do you have to feed that conflict to keep it alive? It's like a beast. It's like this nasty little hungry beast that is never fulfilled. And you're constantly just filling it up with energy. Yet if you let it starve, if you let the conflict dissolve, die out, then what's there? Space, peace, awareness. Okay, cool. What can I choose? If you weren't fighting the conflict or feeding the conflict, then what could you choose? They can do the conflict. So your ex, whoever, they can do all the conflict they want. And you're not avoiding it, because we talked about avoiding, right? You're done avoiding it. You're like, oh, okay, cool. So they're choosing conflict right now. What choices do I have? You can become aware of so many more things. But if you think that because someone's directing conflict at you, your only choice is to avoid it or jump in the ring with them, then you have no freedom. Yeah. Okay, so now look at this with you and money, okay? Do you have a conflict with money? I think a lot of people have a conflict with money. It could be that love-hate thing. It could be that never enough thing. It could be that, ooh, wow, there's a lot there. So if you have a conflict with money, so for some of you, it's like desiring it and then feeling guilty for having it. That's a conflict, right? It's like the joy of money and then the guilt of money. Those universes don't live together. So you're in conflict with them. You have these conflictual universes. So all the conflictual universes, all the conflictual realities you have around money, would you be willing to destroy and create them all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, bad, all nine shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds. And you can do this from this cognitive place. Like I'm saying, write it down, see what pops up. And sometimes you're going to have a time where like, I don't even have a word. When I like do have conflict with money. Yeah. I don't know what that conflict is. Cognitively, that's okay. You can actually still use this clearing, and it's going to clear massive layers of all this stuff out and allow it to dissolve from within and without. And you won't need the cognitive information. That's what's so magical about energy work, is that you're doing stuff on a different level than just the brain stuff. Okay. So don't worry if you didn't get an answer and you just got an energy. So where else do you have conflict? Bodies. Okay. So how many of you think that your body should look a different way? Or how many of you think that you want to eat things that your body doesn't want to eat? Or your body wants to eat things that you don't want it to eat? You have this crazy conflict going on with your body, which is so funny because your body literally is here to contribute to you, the infinite being. It's here and the earth and, the cosmos, but like it's here as this contribution creation. Its greatest desire is not to torture you. Its greatest desire is to provide you with information to expand your being, your very being. Like we create our bodies for this, and then we think that we're in conflict with them and that they want something different. That's so bizarre, because no one has your back more dynamically. No embodied thing has your back more than your own body. Like your own body was literally created from you, for you. It's designed for your joy of embodiment this lifetime, whatever that adventure of this lifetime is for you. So this conflict thing is very interesting, because where did you even come into this conflict? Where did you start to believe this conflict, create this conflict? And what would you have to choose so that the conflict with your body would actually melt away in totality? Whether it's the way it looks, the way it functions, it could be aging, it could be all of these things. Rather than making the body the wrong thing, and so where you have this conflict, being versus body, if you dissolve the conflict, then the being and the body can come together, and then they can go into creation, go into choice, go into possibility, right? So what conflicts do you have with your body? And you might get specific things like body weight or mobility, energy, aesthetics, aging. Just doesn't feel good. Again, it could be non-cognitive. It could just be an energy that comes up. So what conflicts do you have with your body? And would you destroy and create the judgments on both sides of the conflict? Yeah, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds. You have to dissolve. You have to destroy and create the judgments on both sides. I almost see conflict as this invented thing that has to be held it has to be held up by both sides. So you can destroy one side and it's almost like this ball in the middle and it will fall, but it's still affecting you because it's still attached. So, but if you can destroy the judgments on both sides of the conflict, then it will dissolve on its own, in its own, of its own. Yeah. So what other conflicts do you have going on that you can dissolve, that you could let go of today? We've got money, we've got relationship, we've got body, we've got business. You could have a conflict with your boss. You could have a conflict with your business. It just takes so much time and so much energy. Maybe your conflict is with this whole reality and all the insanity going on in the world, right? What if holding on to that conflict is not the thing that's going to create the change? What if dissolving the conflict allows you to be the vibration, the energy, the choice, the possibility that will be the change? So again, everything that you thought the conflict was going to give you, that it never will you destroy and create that? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all name, charts, boards, poets, and beyonds. So what do you have in place keeping the conflict in existence? And would you destroy and create all the judgments holding in existence on both sides? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all names, boys, poets, and beyonds. So I have been one to create conflict and seek out conflict, like actually seek it out in the world so that I could be a part of it, as though that was going to change the world, that was going to change things in my life, that was going to make things easier. And what I noticed is that a lot of the conflict that I bought into at a very, very young age actually didn't belong to me. It was something that I was aware of, I could perceive around me. And so because it was around me, I thought it was me, and I just kind of bought into it. I love to kind of be a bit of a rebellious teenager. And in that rebellion, I would create conflict just to kind of almost see what would happen, And at the same time, when I was younger, before my teenage years, like I described, I was running around trying to avoid conflict. So conflict was always something so prevalent in my awareness that I truly believed that I was conflict. But I'm not. And neither are you. You are this gorgeous, infinite being with infinite possibilities and infinite choice. Your space, your consciousness, you are magic and miracles and possibilities and potency and power and choice. And none of those have anything to do with conflict. You don't be conflict. Yes, some people love to create it. They love to choose it. They love to seek it. Like I thought I did, but you aren't it. You aren't conflict. So everywhere you actually bought, you are conflict, and all the judgments on either side, holding that in place, will you destroy and create it, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all name, shorts, boys, poets, and beyond. Yeah. That is shifting something right there. I can notice the subtleties of energy. I've been working with energy for a really long time, and have kind of honed my skills in. And so I sense even just that acknowledgement that conflict is something that we create, it's something we invent and that we choose, and then we hold it in place with judgments. It's not something that we actually be. That itself is a huge acknowledgement and a place of change if you're willing to have it. So you might have even been accused of that. Maybe every time that you weren't willing to be the doormat, someone accused you like, you're always trying to create conflict, and to not create conflict, you're supposed to be treated like you're supposed to treat yourself like a doormat, right? That's the avoiding conflict thing. That's just another control piece. That's a way that people control you. So if you've been accused of anything, people only accuse you of exactly what they're doing. And it's just a way to control you. Please know that it has nothing to do with you. Even if you can craft the story in your head, you could be like, okay, and you can like make it having to do with you. It actually has nothing to do with you. You're just that brilliant at making stories about you based on the judgments that are projected at you. So what judgments were projected at you about conflict that you bought were you, and you judged as wrong, that's holding that conflict in place. So here's one piece where maybe you're judged as wrong for not like, can't you just go with the flow? Can't you just like, let me do whatever I want to you, essentially? So that's judged as wrong. So this is one thing holding it in place, right? And then, so can't you, like, why are you being like creating such conflict and not just letting us walk all over you? And that's not actually you creating conflict. They're creating the conflict. Okay. They're creating the conflict, and then you're buying into the conflict, and you've bought that you're wrong for it. But then you also have this, there's this other side of it that also holds the conflict in place, where you don't want to get walked all over, and you're buying that means that you create conflict. and all the other strings holding this in place, because we don't just do two. Like, it's like this multidimensional web of judgments and lies that we buy. And you just start to cut them. Like, just picture that web, and you just start to cut them as you get clear on what's actually going on. And it doesn't even, and then you don't have to go into the wrongness of whoever accused you of this conflict. It's the awareness. It's not the wrongness, because then you're just building up a conflict with them on your side. And they projected the conflict here, you bought it, and then you resisted it. And now you're building up a conflict to shoot back. Again, that's not that space of freedom, of choice, of possibility. When you go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And I can see it can get a sense of what I bought into, what I started to create my life as. And now I have this awareness, and I'm going to let go of this conflict, and I'm going to create my life differently. And I'm now aware when people are doing that, what they're doing. That's freedom. That's like living allowance. And in that living allowance, the conflict doesn't exist anymore, because you're not in conflict with anything when you're in allowance of everything. And allowance is truly that. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting point of view. I get there's so much more to do with conflict, and I'll probably do another episode on this, slightly different. But again, we've kind of gone as far as we can go in this format on this topic. So watch for some more conflict conversation coming this way. And I hope this show is a contribution too. I'm really grateful for you as always. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for exploring the curious universe with me. Your curiosity matters. And what if together we could create a greater, more curious world?